So both options do the same thing, but the first one is kind of dangerous. And here's why. If you've been learning Go, you might have noticed two ways of doing routing using the standard lib. The problem is, one of those ways is kind of dangerous. One way to do it would be by using the http.HandleFunc, which takes in the path, and the handler function, which receives a response writer and a request pointer. Then inside you can write your response. Once you define your routes, you can start listening and serving to a specific port. I'll run the program, go in the browser, localhost/about, and there we go. All good. The second way to do routing is by using a custom router instance. You create a router using the http new servmux, and then you essentially do what we have above, but instead of calling http.HandleFunc, we do router HandleFunc. Finally, we call http listen and serve, but this time we pass in our own router instance as the second argument. I'll comment the first one out, restart the program, go in the browser, refresh, and there we go. So both options do the same thing, but the first one is kind of dangerous. And here's why. Let's say we have a second package called logger. I'll create a logger.go file, package logger. We'll have a func log that takes in a message string and prints it out. It's just some dummy code. Now back to our main.go file, we'll call logger.log with some message. I'll restart, go in the browser, refresh, and here is our log message. All good. The problem is the logger package is able to register its own routes. If I go back here, I can add an init function, do http handlefunc, got you, add a response handler, and write some text. I restart the program, go in the browser, /got you, and there we go. We've successfully registered a new route. Now, if I try the same thing using the custom router instance, I'll restart, go in the browser, it will not work. We'll get a 404 response. So although the first version makes routing a bit shorter, the problem is that any third-party package can register its own, possibly somewhat malicious routes. And that's something we really do not want. The reason why it's possible is because when you call http.HandleFunc, behind the scenes it registers a route to a default servmux, which is initialized and stored in a net HTTP global variable. So, for the sake of security, it's a good idea to avoid registering routes directly using http.HandleFunc. Create your own router instance instead.